Hey, Astro Kids, and welcome back. And this is your horoscope for the transit of Mars entering into the sign of Aquarius from April 7th through May 17th. Let's go ahead and jump right into this. So, up on the screen here is the transit for this Mars entering into Aquarius. But before we get into that, we have to understand what is Mars all about and what is the sign of Aquarius all about and what happens when these two come together. And automatically, this is a very challenging position because Mars is all about action and being direct. It wants to move towards a purpose to get the job done. And this Aquarius energy is more about humanity, about ideas, visions for the future, about science and technology advancement. This is a very scientific way of thinking and very much out of the box, creative and the headspace and these thoughts and ideas. And so this is where Mars can feel very uncomfortable as it's trying to drive ahead and get the task completed. This Mars energy is all about action and determination. This is the soldier. This is the commander. This is the one who is in charge of the armies. This is the policeman of the entire cosmos. And so this is all about this direct action, this aggression, this ability to take charge and get things done. This is a master builder. Mars is related to building, putting things together with your hands. It is very much this masculine principle of taking action and driving forward. Aquarius is a sign that is once again all about science, technology, the vision for the future, what we're doing with our ideas. Aquarius also is a Rahu controlled sign, and so it is also about metaphysics, it is about spirituality, it is about aliens, UFOs, foreigners, things that are strange, things that are unknown to us, going and searching for something that is far outside of the norms of society. So, very eccentric sign, very different, very intellectual, very imaginative and idealistic, this Aquarian energy. So, as Mars comes here into the sign of Aquarius, we have a difficulty that is happening where Mars really is not feeling comfortable in this sign of Aquarius. We saw a very similar thing when Mars was back in Capricorn. The difference was that Mars was exalted in the sign of Capricorn, where that structure, that stability of Capricorn benefited Mars's agenda of building, of working towards a goal, a purpose. As we come here into the sign of Aquarius, Mars is a little bit confused, directionless, as we have all of these big ideas and visions. But how are we implementing this? How are we going to take action to make this happen? And so this Martian energy gets slowed down a bit as it comes here into Aquarius, where this can give a feeling of almost not being able to get anything done. We have these ideas, we have these visions of what we want to achieve, but something comes along to slow this down, to block this as Mars comes here into Aquarius. This also can be a huge time because Mars is dealing with how we are reacting, how we're responding. It's a very instinctual planet and it's also related to those very hot and fiery emotions of anger, aggression, competition, of fighting, of going in, taking the initiative, standing up for a cause. And so we can definitely see people starting to assert themselves in a very different way as Mars comes into Aquarius. Again, this energy of Aquarius is very eccentric. It is very much outside the norms of society. And so there can be a huge switch in behaviors as we step into this transit here. This Mars in Aquarius definitely is focused on humanity at large and what we're doing as a society. And what we will see here, because Mars and Saturn has been in this conjunction for some time, is this has really been a moment of the people versus the government versus the authority. But as this moves ahead into Aquarius, what we're going to see is a huge shift because Saturn is going to follow Mars as Mars shifts ahead into Aquarius. Saturn is coming into its Mulattricone sign of Aquarius, and we'll talk more about that in a future video. But as Saturn comes along with Mars, and Mars is going into the Mulattricone sign of Saturn, Saturn is actually going to be the one that is dominating in this Saturn Mars conjunction as we move ahead. And so Mars is definitely very frustrated here as it is having to deal with all of these scientific thoughts, dealing with all of this planning for the future, for long term things, having to think about the world, about humanity at large. And Mars is not wanting to do all of this. Mars is just wanting to go in and get the job done. And so this really becomes a challenging and stressful transit, especially for those of you who are very impatient, who are looking for some sort of quick paced results. This energy is very challenging where we can see a lot of roadblocks. We can see many possibilities unfolding with this Mars in Aquarius energy as a whole. So this definitely is a very scattered and unfocused time where there's a lot that is up in the air, a lot of thoughts and ideas going around, but how can we take the action to make this happen? Now, whenever we're talking about Saturn, Saturn gives us long term results. So, Saturn is never going to deny you any sort of success or outcome. Saturn is only going to delay, to restrict. It's going to give you what the limitations are, what the reality of your experience is all about. So, Saturn is trying to teach some patience, some discipline as it comes into this position here. And this is where many can get frustrated in this push to try to drive ahead and seeing themselves getting nowhere with this transit. This definitely is a time of using your knowledge, of using your experience, using your ideas to your advantage. Aquarius, once again, is connected to our hopes, our dreams, our visions. So it is a very imaginative and dreamy sign that is connected to our higher ideas and visions for the future. And so this is definitely a time of planning, of strategizing, of organizing your thoughts and ideas. And you will see that with the work and the progress to move towards these goals, that those results will come very slowly during this transit. This Mars in Aquarius is also going to go through a lot of complicated transits simultaneously as we are getting ready to move ahead into Mercury retrograde and the eclipse season coming up very shortly. Along with all of these major planets that are shifting and moving out of their location here in the month of April into the month of May, we're going to see Jupiter shift, Saturn is going to shift signs. We have a lot of activity here. And of course, we have those nodes that are shifting out of their position here with the mean Rahu and mean K2 in Taurus and Scorpio, getting ready to move back into Aries and Libra. Major karmic shift that is happening here where our whole focus collectively is going to shift from this Taurus security into Aries, which is very much about the self. We're going to see a lot of selfish energy, a lot of self centered focuses at this time where this can be very difficult to cooperate, to negotiate, to work with others. A lot of people are going to be focused heavily on themselves with this Rahu Aries. And so this is definitely a dramatic shift that we're going to see with all of these planets, all of this movement happening on top of this Mars in Aquarius that is shifting with Saturn. Now, let's talk about the different Nakshatras that Mars will pass through as it transits here through the sign of Aquarius. Each of these Nakshatras have a very different energy about them. And so as Mars is shifting through these Nakshatras, it is going to function quite differently. The first Nakshatra here that falls in Aquarius is Dhanishta, and this will start in Capricorn. So we're going to see that Mars is already in this energy before shifting ahead into Aquarius. Dhanishta is the star of symphony, so there's a lot of rhythm and correct timing, doing things in divine timing to receive success, to support a cause, to stand up for what is right. We have this strong Martian influence here in Dhanishta. And so already Mars is going to function better here in this first nakshatra of Aquarius. Now things shift as we move ahead into the second nakshatra, which is Shadabhishak, which is the 100 star or the veiling star, which is all about what the entire universe is encased in, this akashic fluid, the cosmic fluid. And so this is a nakshatra that is all about closure, secrecy, about things that are beyond this physical plane, everything that is happening in the entire universe. And on one hand, this is a nakshatra that is about exploring different possibilities, thinking outside of the box, being very eccentric and different. But on the other hand, this is a nakshatra that is very in tune with rules, with restrictions, that is very much about closure and keeping things contained within a certain limit. And so this is talking about the limit of the entire universe, which is actually what is inside of the picture that the water bearer is pouring from. This pitcher is filled with this akashic fluid, with this fluid that is contained within the entire universe, which one of the big symbols of this nakshatra is the Ouroboros, the circle that is containing and holding the secrets of the universe. And so this is connected to portals. This is connected to exploring and going to places that are not visible to the human eye, that is about tapping into mystical and otherworldly knowledge. And so this is a very interesting position here in Aquarius that really takes up a huge amount of this Aquarius sign, as it is from 6.40 degrees all the way till 20 degrees of Aquarius. Big section of Aquarius that is very mystical, that is very eccentric. And this is especially where Mars is going to have difficulties. Once again, Mars wants to get straight to the point. It wants to get the action done. And so all of this daydreaming, all of these possibilities, all of this knowledge that is here in this Shadabhishak Nakshatra is very difficult for this Mars to wrap its head around. Mars is really having a difficult time as it's drifting into all of this worldly knowledge, this mystical knowledge, all of these humanitarian pursuits that are way above Mars's agenda of just getting straight to the point and getting the task completed. So especially as Mars is coming through this Shadabhishak Nakshatra, this is going to be the most difficult in terms of getting tasks completed, in terms of getting towards your goals with all of this daydreaming and drifting off in this mental headspace. The last nakshatra in Aquarius is going to be Purva Bhadrapada, and this is a Jupiter controlled nakshatra. Mars is going to have a little bit of a better time in this nakshatra as Jupiter and Mars are great friends with one another. In Purva Bhadra, we see a little bit of a fanaticism almost of standing up for a cause, of fighting for a higher purpose, of a higher calling, of standing up for what is right. This is a very good and righteous nakshatra that is very fierce as well. It is willing to fight and stand for what is right, to fight for its beliefs. It is also a very knowledgeable and philosophical nakshatra where there is a ton of intelligence in this part of Aquarius. Along with this, this is a nakshatra that is known for being the humanitarian, for being the philosopher, the philanthropic one who is out doing good for the world. So we have this happening, and along with that, we have this Purva Bhadra being Very interesting and eccentric in a bit of a darker way. So, exploring the darker tones of life, exploring that more sinister or more trickster side of yourself, going into the dark and exploring all of these darker metaphysical topics. And this is where Mars can find itself more focused, more grounded in terms of reaching a purpose, but we can also see a little bit of this drifting off again with all of this knowledge, all of this mystical understanding, all of this wisdom and philosophy that is once again above Mars's agenda of getting to a point of achieving a mission. So let's go ahead and talk about how this transit of Mars and Aquarius is going to affect each of you according to your zodiac sign. And I am using Vedic astrology, which is a sidereal system. So if you are not familiar with what your sidereal sign is, there is a calculator down below in the description so that you have the correct information. This also is going to be according to your moon sign or your ascendant sign, not your sun sign. So let's go ahead and start off here for those of you with an Aries moon or Aries ascendant. We will see Mars shift ahead into your 11th house. This is a huge transit for you in terms of moving towards your goals and ambitions. Once again, we have Saturn that is going to be in this conjunction. And so this is going to be very frustrating for many of you where you're not going to see the results that you want right away. The Saturn energy being your 10th and 11th lord brings a lot of you very difficult situations where you want to climb towards a goal and you are met with some obstacle where this is forcing you to wait to develop some discipline. As many of you here with an Aries ascendant, Aries moon are very determined, very much driven towards achieving your goals, and many of you very fast paced and wanting those results quickly. So this is definitely a transit where this is looking at your desires, looking at everything that you are trying to pursue, and developing a strong strategy of how you're going to make this happen. Not just trying to charge in and do this by force. You will be met with a lot of friction and obstacles for those of you who are trying to do this by brute force. This can also be a time where you want to be careful about how you are approaching others. As Mars is here in this 11th house, this can bring up a lot of arguments and disagreements within your friend circles. Mars is going to cast its aspect over onto your 5th house, where this is a huge time where many of you once again are wanting to express yourselves, wanting to chase after your goals, but this is not a great time to try to force things to happen. We have Mars that's going to be aspecting onto your 6th house, where many of you, once again, can get into arguments, into disagreements. You can find yourselves in situations where there's a lot of conflict and competition taking place. For those of you with a Taurus moon or Taurus ascendant, this will be Mars shifting into your 10th house. This is a very strong position for your career, for your business success. But remember that Mars is a bit of a difficult planet as it controls your 12th and 7th house. This could be a time of making sure that you are managing your time and energy properly so that you're not getting burnt out in this area. Mars in there definitely gives a lot of strength for you to push forward in your goals and pursuits. For those of you with a Gemini moon or Gemini ascendant, this will be Mars shifting ahead into your 9th house, where many of you are looking to learn a new skill, to develop something new along your journey. Some of you thinking about traveling or doing some sort of adventurous activity. A lot of restlessness is happening here with this Mars 9th house, where you're looking for something fun, looking for an adventure, looking for something that is mentally stimulating. As Mars is controlling over your 8th house, this can also be an excellent time for your spiritual studies. Any sort of metaphysical subjects, anything that you want to dive deeper into psychologically, this can be a great time for learning in this area. This can be challenging in your education for some of you, though, where you can see some dramatic ups and downs. This 8th house being all about those sudden changes. And so, this is definitely a time about enduring and continuing through through the difficulties, finding that support through that ninth house, reaching out to those who can help you along these hurdles. For those of you with a Cancer moon, Cancer ascendant, this will be Mars shifting into your eighth house. A very dramatic transit, as Mars is very much about action and taking on challenges and competitions. It's very happy to be here in this eighth house. But of course, the eighth house is a house of dramatic and sudden changes. And so this can be a time where you can run into a lot of difficulties and challenges in your life. This can play out health wise. This can play out where you are finding yourself going through ups and downs in your finances. And so you want to be aware of this, but Mars in here giving you a ton of strength and energy to persevere through this, especially as Mars is controlling your fifth and 10th house. Very positive planet where it gives you a ton of energy and stamina to push through these obstacles. For those of you with a Leo moon, Leo ascendant, this will be Mars shifting into your seventh house. Be aware of arguments and conflicts. This can lead to separation, divorce. We can see a lot of intense situations happening through your connections with others. So this is definitely a time to be mindful of your speech, to be mindful of how you're addressing circumstances in this area. For those of you with a Virgo moon, Virgo ascendant, this will be Mars shifting through your sixth house. This is a very powerful position. Many of you who have been having your foot on the brake a little bit or have run into frustrations here and there along your journey, this is definitely going to be a time where your energy, your strength, your motivation is going to start to increase with this Mars stepping into your sixth house. Mars can bring some difficulties as it controls your eighth house, but it gives you the strength to remain resilient and keep pushing through those difficulties. So this is definitely a huge time of tapping into your energy, your strength, and getting those tasks completed that you've struggled to complete in the past. This also could be a time to pay close attention to your health. You can run into some accidents here and there. So you want to pay attention to all of the things that you're doing in your life, not taking any sort of risk at this time, as Saturn again is controlling that fifth house. And so there can be some potential risk with Saturn being this co-dispositor of this Mars. For those of you with a Libra moon, Libra ascendant, this is a tricky transit as Mars is going to shift ahead into your fifth house. Many of you are going to feel very frustrated. You can run into a lot of disappointments and accidents happening in your life. In particular, this can happen in your children or in your romantic partnerships. You can find some difficulties in this area. For some of you, this is going to play out where your romantic partners or your children can actually run into some obstacles and frustrations in their lives as well. And so this can be a very draining time where a lot of people are demanding a lot from you. This fourth house being the co-dispositor of this Saturn placement here with this Mars in Aquarius. A lot of you are going to be demanded that you are there to care for, to nurture, to help others along this journey. So making sure that you're managing your health, your energy, that you're taking time aside for yourself is very important at this time. For those of you with a Scorpio moon, Scorpio ascendant, this will be Mars pushing ahead here for you into your fourth house. And so this is a very interesting time where, once again, we talked a little bit about this in our weekly transit, where some of you can find yourselves getting a little bit more agitated, frustrated with this Mars energy in the fourth house. This can definitely be a time of defensiveness, of moodiness, of being more withdrawn, more attached into your home environment. And this can be a great time of actually moving location or moving things within your home, structuring, managing those tasks within your daily life at home. So a lot of focus here is going into the home front. This can be a little bit of a frustrating time with, again, this energy coming in here, but a lot of you giving the strength and energy in order to move ahead in your business area. So this can be very fortunate for your career. For those of you with a Sagittarius moon, Sagittarius ascendant, this will be Mars pushing ahead into your third house. This is excellent. Mars loves being in this third house where it can be very competitive, it can be very forthright, it can get tasks and accomplishments done. It can be very much about moving and pushing ahead. So this gives you a boost, a drive at this time to push forward with your goals, to really assert yourself. You want to be careful about how you're communicating, though. You can become very much forthright and direct in your communication, which can bring you into some problems and disagreements. So you want to pay close attention to your speech, how you're using it. Are you being too aggressive? Are you being too harsh with others at this time? This is definitely excellent for any kind of athletic events, anything where you're competing, where you are using your efforts and competitive skills to drive ahead. This can also be a great time where you can see that your finances can be helped through this, as this is giving you a lot of perseverance towards your goals, a lot of ideas that you can work towards at this time. Remember that with this energy that there can be some delays or obstacles coming up, but this third house is definitely excellent for pushing forward. And this Mars in Aquarius scattering this energy a little bit, but you want to focus in on your immediate goals, and this will benefit you. For those of you with a Capricorn moon, Capricorn ascendant, this will be Mars pushing ahead into your second house. This is a bit of a difficult transit for you, especially as Mars is not a great friend to your ruler Saturn and is here in your ruler's sign in its Mulattricone house. There's a little bit of a strong conflict that is happening for those of you with an Capricorn moon, Capricorn ascendant. As we have Mars coming into the second house, you want to be careful about your speech. You want to be careful about your eating habits. Anything that you are trying to do that is fast paced, where you are trying to force results to take place. This can run into a lot of frustrations for those of you here with this Capricorn moon, Capricorn ascendant. You want to look to Saturn, which is trying to support you in this area, especially as Saturn pushes ahead to join up with Mars. This is going to help you in managing this energy more. This, as it is Saturn being the co-dispositor of your first house, can also make you very concerned about your looks, your appearance, your body at this time. So you can see a lot of energy going into this. You may find yourself becoming more active, more so focused in on your diet, on your exercise at this time. For those of you with an Aquarius moon, Aquarius ascendant, this will be Mars shifting ahead into your first house. So many of you getting a confidence boost, especially as Mars is controlling your third and 10th house. This can be excellent for putting yourself out into the world, for standing up for yourself, for pushing ahead in your career goals. But you want to be careful about how you're communicating and coming across with others. This can definitely be a time where you're a little bit more aggressive, more so pushing forward, trying to make things happen. And once again, as Mars is here in Saturn sign in this Mulattricone house in your first house, this can be frustrating in terms of trying to push ahead and make things happen. You want to watch your mood, to watch your reactions at this time, as it can bring you a lot of frustration. Saturn is co-dispositor of your 12th house, and so this energy can bring you into retreat. With all of this tension and frustration, this definitely is a great time to meditate, to find relaxation. This will help you greatly. For those of you with a Pisces moon, Pisces ascendant, this will be Mars shifting ahead into your 12th house. So definitely bringing you back into a space of reclusion, of isolation for some of you, where you are going more inward at this time. This could be a time that's very draining, where you are finding it difficult to apply your energy to anything really at this time, with this Mars Aquarius that is scattering all of these ideas and thoughts out into all these different directions. This can be very overwhelming for a lot of you here with this Pisces moon, Pisces ascendant. Many of you are empaths, so you can find yourself being drained by the crowd, being drained by the people, being drained by all of these visions and ideas for the future. So this is definitely a time to meditate, to calm yourself down, to come into this space of relaxation, to find some mental clarity. Meditation, keeping a dream journal, all of this is going to give you excellent insight spiritually, and this can be a great time of tapping into information through elders, through mentors. This can aid you as well. You also want to be careful about your speech. Mars is controlling that second house of your chart where you can get very aggressive or very domineering in the way that you're speaking and coming across. Again, paying close attention to your moods, paying close attention to when you're getting drained and overwhelmed is very important here. You can come upon a lot of frustration, a lot of difficulties with this Mars Aquarius transit.